It's really easy in science communication for public information officers and scientists and other academic researchers to talk past each other when they're doing publicly facing work. And I've also had this experience of communication folks coming in the room and saying, we're really excited, this could get a lot of attention. And I think what scientists hear is, this is really risky, this could get a lot of attention, we have to watch out and be really careful. And that dynamic is at play because public information officers, PR people, they often have goals to get stuff out there in a big way. They want to make a big splash. And for scientists, that's really risky. And it's really risky because in the scientific community, in the academic world, reputation is everything. And a public release that goes bad, inaccurate stuff that gets out in the media that's attributed to you or your institution, can really have negative repercussions for your reputation. And I think the onus is on the PIOs, the press officers, the folks who are doing the communications work to make their goals and their intentions clear and to help scientists avoid inaccurate coverage of their work. So when I'm working with scientists, the first thing that I like to do is to ask them, what's the bad outcome here? What's the stuff that we want to avoid? What are the inaccuracies you would hate to see in a news article about your work? And let's talk about that first. Let's make sure we're both on the same page with what we're going to avoid. And I find that really helpful because for scientists, they're so good at shooting things down, right? A lot of the practice of science is making sure that bad ideas don't get into the scientific literature, that if they do, that they get corrected. So in creating that space at the outset of a project, I think it helps scientists make some of their goals clear, and it also helps scientists understand that you as the public information officer, as the press officer, that you understand what some of their goals are, what some of the traps and the tripwires are in their field when they do public communication. It really helps establish trust. Another really important thing you can do, and this is so important, I think every institution that works with scientists and academic researchers should do this, it's give scientists, give the lead authors on paper, give whoever has scientific responsibility for whatever you're doing, give them the right of last review on whatever you're doing. Some agencies do this. I know a lot of NGOs do this. That right of last review is so important because it helps scientists understand that nothing is going to go out the door without them seeing it first, right? So that nothing's going to get changed. You're not going to go run out of the room to go talk to a reporter or a policymaker about somebody's work, right? They have the right of last review before whatever you're doing goes out the door. And that's a huge peace of mind for scientists. And I think it's also a best practice for avoiding mistakes because a lot of times mistakes just get into the process as comms folks are editing stuff. And it's really important for the researchers to know that they're the last set of eyes on something before it goes out the door. The last thing I would say, conversely, for scientists, they are often afraid that, whatever they say, whatever they're doing around a communications person, that could just get out into the world somehow. So they're often very circumspect, even when they're dealing with somebody in the context of a workshop or in the context of their institutional PR officer talking to them. And I think the PR folks, what we can do is basically create kind of like improv rules for internal conversations, right? To say that this is a space where we can brainstorm. This is a meeting where we can let a bunch of ideas fly, and nothing we say or do in this meeting goes out the door, right? Give ourselves some room to brainstorm, to have fun, to get creative, to communicate and to say yes to stuff and to think creatively about how we can make ideas work, as opposed to the default mode that we often get into in science communication, which is to say no and to be negative and to say why something wouldn't work, right? Because we're all such critical thinkers. So I hope that's helpful. Those are the big divides in my mind. I know there's a lot of other stuff that comes up between communication folks and between scientists, but those are the sort of big thematic things that I see in the community and how I try to address them in my own work. I hope that's helpful.